I think it's also important to be aware of the kind of people you surround yourself with. I mean, are they nurturing? Are they helping you become the best version of yourself? Are they just kind of chipping away at your energy? And I think that's why knowing how to set boundaries is really important, both in your personal life and in your professional life. So let's talk about healthy boundary setting. And I know that's a pivotal piece of your book. What does healthy boundary setting look like?
A healthy boundary setting, first of all, it's really important to remember that boundaries are not walls that we build to isolate ourselves. So that's something that I hear a lot, especially right now, is like, oh, I was healing, so I isolated myself, right? Like, and I think that's not the purpose of boundaries. The purpose of a healthy boundary is to communicate to another person how you exist in relationships. It's the guidelines of being in relationship with you, right? It's like the guidelines of what you're able to tolerate, what you're not able to tolerate, what your non negotiables are, and the limits to your own behavior. So a healthy boundary is not telling somebody that they can't do X or they shouldn't do Y. It's saying, if you do this, this is how I'm going to react to it. And so it's a limitation on your own behavior. So a really good example that I use is if you have a friend who tends to go out on the weekends and like drunk dial you, for example, right? And they're calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning and it just disrupts your sleep, something you are an early person who goes to sleep early. A unhealthy boundary would be stop calling me after 10 o'clock, right? A healthy boundary would be I'm not going to pick up after 10 p.m. And then if you continue to call me, I will put you on silent block. Like that's what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
You can do what you want, but my line is this, and this is where I'm going to operate. And then you can offer an alternative. Like, I would love to hear about your night. We'll catch up in the morning. I'll follow up with you Sunday mornings to hear about your weekend. Like, these are ways we can actually stay in relationship with someone while having boundaries.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the second important thing about boundaries is that they're not the same for everyone. The way you set a boundary with a stranger or like a random person who is making like comments about your life or your body or whatever, that happens a lot. The way you set a boundary with that person is very different than the way you set a boundary with your friend or your parent. And the way you set a boundary with somebody who is like in an abusive dynamic with you is very
Oh,
different.
very different. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to say that because, I say that, oh, we should offer alternatives when we offer boundaries.
Yeah.
And people are always like, well, what if, in an abusive relationship, you don't offer alternatives? It's like,
Yeah. This,
no, is the full sentence.
yeah.
But if you want to have a relationship with the person, you want to continue to deepen that bond. This formula is thank them for whatever it is that they've asked for or what they're doing, give them the decline with an alternative. And then that's like the formula for boundary setting.
Yeah. So being diplomatic about it and, doing it with a sense of compassion and
Yes.
empathy.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I would definitely say that over diplomatic because it's like you are coming from a place of compassion. You want them to know that you care about them, but
Yeah.
you just can't do this, right?
Yeah.
And like around the holiday time, especially, like people feel very burnt out with like holiday invites and like
Absolutely.
family.
Yeah. With family and,
Yeah, like, and so a really good way to set boundaries is to have time limits. So,
mm,
if you're invited somewhere, you can say, thanks for inviting me. I'd love to come. What can I bring? I'm going to be
mm,
leaving at 30, right?
okay.
And like kind of like sticking to that yourself as well is like a time and energy boundary.
Right. Yeah. What's one boundary that you set in your life that really changed things for you? Like, what do you feel? A boundary that was really impactful in your life?
I set a boundary with myself that really changed a lot of things for me, which was that I would only go out maximum 3 times a week. That was like a time energy boundary I had to set with myself because I live in New York City. There's something happening every single day. It's like
Yeah.
four things are happening. And so boundaries are something we set with ourselves too, right? It's not just about other people.
Mm,
And there was a time where I was just going out all the time, like 7 nights a week, Weekends, my husband and I would be out for like 10 hours. But it
When
was
you
like,
say
you can't,
going out, does that is that like social activities
yeah.
or yeah?
So shows, musicals,
Okay.
art gallery openings, parties, social
Oh yeah.
gatherings,
Yeah.
concerts, like just you name it. Like, and I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be healthy like that. You're not
Yes.
eating well, you're not sleeping well, like you're not resting, you don't have time to work out because your
Yes.
calendar is so slammed.
Right.
Um, so I made that boundary with myself and I had to say no to things. And it really forced me to prioritize. What is the thing that truly matters? If I can only go out 3 times this week, what's the thing I'm going to say yes to? And so that really changed a lot for me, like my health, my relationships, like my sense of presence, just all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I think that's actually part of our personal evolution as we grow older. We have to whittle down the activities that we have on our calendar because we have more important stuff to do, you know? Especially
Yeah.
if you're mission oriented like you are and like I am. Like we can't just, just fritter
Yeah.
away our time. So,
Yeah.
and our
Even
energy.
for even for simple things like nutritious meals, like nutritious
Yeah.
meals are just that cornerstone of your health.
Yeah.
And if you're out all the time, you don't have time to cook. You don't have time
That's
to buy.
right.
So you're just eating whatever you're ordering out. And that was like a big part of it. And
Yeah.
not only is it like bad for your health, it's like bad for your bank because like you're spending so much money.
So much money. Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
it's
restaurants can be expensive out there in New
yeah,
York. I remember.
yeah, yeah. And it's not nutritious. So it's like a double whammy. It's one thing to pay money and
Yes.
get really nutritious food. And so like that changed for me. So now like Mondays, I never go out unless it's like so extreme. Like it's like someone's book launch party that,
Mm,
you don't want to miss.
yeah.
My meals on Monday night, like I catch up prep for the week, and that makes me feel so grounded. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I feel good about this upcoming week. And I
Hmm.
didn't used to have that before, like in my early 30s.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's important to get to that point where you know what you need to be
Mhm.
your best self. Um,
Mhm.
I do want to talk about something that I thought people should be aware of, and that is learning how to manage our anxiety and our triggers. And you say that one of the best ways to do that is through the process of reparenting and knowing what it is we need to shift in ourselves. So tell us about reparenting and what that entails.
Yeah. So reparenting is this idea of recognizing how you actually get your needs met. So, when you're younger, and you're like literally like when you're 1, 2 years old, like when you're a baby, you learn how to ask for your needs. Like babies are very good at that. Like if you try to hold a baby and they don't want it, they'll just push you away, literally, right? Like we are born with a lot of boundaries that we know are good for us. And we know how to like ask for what we want. Like we're hungry, we need a diaper change, or we're sleepy. And so what we learn very quickly from our parents is how our needs will be met. And so if your parents they might be well-meaning people, but maybe they were a little angry, maybe they were temperamental, maybe they were inconsistent, maybe your parent was like experiencing postpartum depression and wasn't really able to meet your needs in that moment. There's so many reasons this can happen, but we can learn that our needs are not important very early on. And we learn to mask it, or we learn to people please. Like children as young as 2, 3 years old can do this really well. Like they
Hmm.
can people please and mask their needs to
Yeah,
make their caregiver happy, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And so reparenting is going through that journey again as an adult to
Hmm.
recognize, how do I actually ask for what I need? And is it healthy the way I do it? Right. And it's not about blaming your parents. It's not about looking back and being angry at them, because that's just weight that you are carrying. I mean, you need to resolve that emotion, and that's different. But the process of reparenting is essentially learning how to meet your needs and learning how to ask for them. So there's two parts to meeting a need. One is like, how do I do it for myself? And then how do I ask for other people to do it for me? And we need to have a lot of clarity about how we actually communicate a need to our partners and our friends, and how we receive it. Because sometimes people will say, I need help, but then somebody gives them help, they reject it, right? I mean, we've all seen that happen in life.
Yeah.
Or we meet people and they'll never ask for help and they'll struggle, but then they'll be mad at you for not helping them,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because they want you to know what's on their mind,
Mind
right?
read. Yeah.
Mind read. And these are all things we learn at an early age. So
Yeah.
reparenting is actually consciously becoming aware of what your needs are, how you meet them, how you communicate them to other people, and how you ask and receive help. And
Oh,
so it's like a journey we go on. And it's not just about like on Instagram, you see people talk about all these other ways of like, like buy yourself flowers every week and things like that, which I do, by the way. So I'm a big fan of that. But
mm,
that's like what goes on top of it. The foundation is that conscious awareness of how do I communicate and meet my needs. Once you can do that, then you build the inner child healing of like joy and connection and all those other things that you see.